turn the tide here. It was a 1-point game at halftime. Philly had just 15 points in the third. Miami had 25. And that was it. Isaiah Joe for 3. No good. And the Miami Heat, for the second time in the last 3 years, going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They close out this series in 6 games, winning on Philly's home floor, 99-90.
The Philadelphia 76ers, a team that finished as the 4th seed and lost in 6 games to the Miami Heat, is a team we'll be talking about today. The Sixers are one of the most controversial but also interesting teams in the league, and there's always something to talk about when it comes to them. So here's the outlook on the Philadelphia 76ers. If you haven't already, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and let me know what team you want me to do an outlook on next, and let's get right into this video. Now first, let's talk about the current state of the Sixers. Now as the team is constructed right now, this is actually a really good team on paper. I mean, you have a projected lineup of Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid. You got a new addition to this team in DeAnthony Melton, who I feel as though will be great for the bench. You got Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, Paul Reed, and Furkan Korkmaz, who can all provide off the bench. In my opinion, that's a really good team. And if I'm being honest, there really aren't that many weaknesses with this team. I mean, you've got the length, athleticism, shooting, defense, scoring. This is definitely one of the more well-rounded teams in the league. Now, the only question with this team would be how will Joel Embiid and James Harden perform in the playoffs? I mean, Joel Embiid's highest scoring game against the Heat, only having 24 shots on only 13 attempts, is unacceptable. And James Harden, for the most part, being underwhelming in that series is unacceptable as well. I mean, no matter how well-rounded your team is, if your 2 stars aren't playing great, then that brings down your entire team. Now, I do believe that Tyrese Maxey can step up, but I don't believe that he's at the level yet to carry the entire team. And if he was a guy that could step up and carry the entire team, then in that case against the Heat in Game 6 last year, that game would have been a lot more competitive. So yeah, you do need your superstars to step up in the biggest moments, because in the playoffs you're facing way better teams and the margin for error is extremely slim. So it's extremely important for your best players to step up. But other than that, I really don't have any gripes with this team. I mean, if I had to nitpick, then I would say that outside of Joel Embiid, this team really doesn't have another interior presence. I mean, yeah, Paul Reed is an underrated big man who can give you great minutes, but I feel as though the drop off from rim protection from Joel Embiid and Paul Reed is drastic. But outside of that, I wouldn't say anything else. Now moving on to the Sixers' future, I feel as though it's very promising. Now in my opinion, I feel as though Tyrese Maxey progressing into that 3rd star for the Sixers was best case scenario for them. They didn't have to move anything or sacrifice anything to get a guy like him. They didn't have to spend a whole lot of money on him or anything. He just progressed very well. And playstyle wise, I feel as though he's perfect for this team. He can play off the ball very well. He has a great handle. He's a great playmaker and he's a really good finisher. He can also play really good defense on the other end as well. And he's always the most energetic guy on the floor. And not to mention, he's only 21 years old. I mean, who knows how much better he'll get within these next couple of years. I mean, who knows if he'll take that next leap and become an all-star next season. I just feel as though his potential is limitless, and I feel as though the Sixers should make him a top priority when that big payday comes. And then you have a 28-year-old perennial MVP candidate as the cornerstone of your franchise in Joel Embiid. I mean, Joel Embiid is one of the very few guys whose impact on both sides of the floor can change the course of a game. But Joel Embiid, I feel as though it all comes down to him just staying healthy. I mean, it feels like every season he gets injured in the worst moments possible. I mean, just this season he had a broken orbital and had a mild concussion and had to play through it. And then last season against the Hawks, he had to play through a torn meniscus. Now, it's always been a thing with Joel Embiid whether he can stay healthy or not. I don't think anyone questions Joel Embiid's talent, it's just can he stay healthy. But other than that, the Sixers' future stands. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, Matisse Thybulle, and Paul Reed are all great guys who can help your franchise in the future. And not to mention, James Harden is only 32 years old, so I feel as though he'll give you high production for more years to come. I feel as though this team is ready for the future with guys who will only get better as time progresses. Now moving on to how I think this team will perform next year. I feel as though this team will finish as a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now for a hypothetical, if Joel Embiid can't stay healthy during the season, then I feel as though Tyrese Maxey and James Harden can keep this team afloat. I feel as though Tyrese Maxey will take that next leap and James Harden will be James Harden. And the Sixers going out and getting more guys and getting deeper will only help them. Now if Joel Embiid can stay healthy for most of the season, then I feel as though this team's ceiling could be the 1st seed. Now obviously they'd be battling with Boston and Milwaukee, but I feel as though Philly got a lot better. PJ Tucker gives them much needed grit and toughness that they didn't have. And not to mention PJ Tucker was just on the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference last year, so that helps a lot. And them finishing as a top 3 seed in the East really isn't that far-fetched to say, because last season they finished as the 4th seed without having James Harden the entire season. Now in my opinion, I feel as though the biggest threat to this team would be the Boston Celtics. The Celtics were already a deep team who just came off of a finals run and just added Malcolm Brogdon. And not to mention Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will get a lot better. Boston's defensive versatility and scoring ability will give the Sixers a lot of problems. And defensively, the Celtics have matchups for the Sixers, so the Celtics are the only team that I can see finishing over the Sixers. But as far as Milwaukee, it's a lot closer. The Sixers and the Bucks are 2 evenly matched teams. They both have great rim protection in Giannis and Joel Embiid, and both teams have 2 great scorers, as the Bucks have Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, and the Sixers have James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. It's honestly just neck and neck. And both teams have deep benches. The Bucks have Bobby Portis, Joe Ingles, Grayson Allen, and Pat Connaughton. And the Sixers have DeAnthony Melton, Paul Reed, Matisse Thybulle, and Furkan Korkmaz. All those guys can come in and give you great valuable minutes. So it's honestly just who you prefer. Do you prefer the Sixers or do you prefer the Bucks? But other than that, I don't really see any other team in the East finishing above the Sixers. I don't see the Heat repeating what they did last year. The Nets still have their problems. The Raptors are still extremely young, and the Hawks don't have enough. So for the Sixers team, I give them an overall grade of an A. Their team is great as it stands now, they have a great future, and I feel as though they'll finish very high next year. And that's my outlook on the Philadelphia 76ers. Now if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this to your friends if you enjoyed the content. My Discord and social media links will be down below in the description. More videos just like this one weekly. And as always, I'm out. Peace.